HBO. Boy, oh motherfucking boy. Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? For those of you guys who don't know, about a week ago, there was an article on BoxingScene.com, and the headline read, HBO is making a big mistake what they're doing with G.Rigondeaux. And if you've been watching HBO as long as I have, then you already knew what that shit meant. You knew it was some more ridiculous ass, bias, favoritist, fucking hypocritical decisions that are being made at the HBO office, right? We already knew this. So basically, there was an article, like I said, on BoxingScene.com. I read it a little bit. I don't even know if I read the whole thing. But it starts off with Bob Arum just completely pouring salt into a fucking wound, right? Just completely demoting, instead of promoting his fighter, demoting his fighter, G.Rigondeaux. He has the nerve to tell the media that whenever he calls HBO, they want to vomit when they hear the name Rigo. Really? They want to vomit? I mean, guys, how many times have we really heard this before? They want to vomit when they hear G.Rigondeaux's name. What's so funny about this whole situation is I remember when Manny Pacquiao got knocked out. You know, prior to Manny getting knocked out, the debate and the argument was always, who's pound for pound number one? Is it Floyd? Is it Pacquiao? Back and forth, right? And of course, you had your Pacquiao fans, you had your Mayweather fans, you know, going back and forth on the situation. Once Pacquiao got knocked out by a guy who Floyd Mayweather had beat easy, you know, it was then obvious who the best fighter in the world was, right? Not only was it obvious, but it was also obvious that Manny Pacquiao was unfortunately for his fans, not as good as they thought he was, right? Like I said, leading up to the third Manny Pacquiao fight, I had already explained this in my videos. I told you guys that Manny Pacquiao, I told you guys that all of the Manny Pacquiao fans, they were constantly telling me that, you know, leading up to that third fight, Manny Pacquiao is going to destroy Marquez, right? They said he's going to destroy Marquez because now he's bigger than Marquez, just like they claimed Floyd Mayweather was, right? And not only that, but it's 4 years later from the first or second time they fought, so he's going to be way better than he was, right? That third fight, Manny Pacquiao goes in there, and a lot of people thinks he lost. Fourth fight, Manny Pacquiao gets knocked out. Manny Pacquiao himself said, leading up to the third fight, that he believed that he would beat Marquez easier because he's naturally bigger than Marquez. Like the people use the excuse with Floyd Mayweather, saying that he was bigger. So Manny Pacquiao, by his own admission, goes in there naturally bigger than Marquez, and he still loses to him, or he still struggles. He still has the public thinking he lost the fight, right? Okay, so the point I'm making with this Manny Pacquiao situation is Manny Pacquiao, he gets knocked out, right? Now, when Manny Pacquiao gets knocked out, you know, the majority of the casual fans' hearts are broken. This is who they love. This is who they idolize, right? And I remember the first thing I start thinking is, man, Manny Pacquiao is already out. What if G.Rigondeaux beats Nonito Donaire? And not only was I thinking this, but a lot of people, you know, sending comments. I was reading comments on my vids. I was reading other people's comments, talking, you know, conversating with certain people. And everyone was saying, damn, man, if Donaire loses right after Manny Pacquiao loses, these are HBO's two favorite fighters. HBO is going to go crazy if they lose both of their fighters back to back. And everyone was saying, what are they going to do if this happens? Now you guys read this article that I'm talking about, and now we know exactly what is going to happen. Now we know what is happening right now. HBO is starting to reveal themselves as nothing but a fucking joke. A network of boxing that we cannot take serious at all. It's just fucking silly as Fox News calling their channel news. You know? Because we know good and damn well it's not news. It's just propaganda. It's biased ass propaganda. HBO, guys, for those of you, and I know a lot of people don't really watch politics, but HBO is starting to become the Fox News of boxing. When it comes to boxing with HBO, it's not about boxing anymore. It's about what HBO likes and what they don't like. And right now, what they definitely don't like is the fact that Rigo had the nerve to knock off one of their favorite fucking fighters. And that's Nonito Donaire. Not only was Donaire one of HBO's favorite, but Donaire was starting to become one of the media's favorite. Right? Like I told you guys before, this is the reason why Donaire was rushed into becoming Fighter of the Year. I told you, Donaire didn't deserve to be Fighter of the Year when they gave it to him. But they gave it to him because they knew that this would probably be the closest time he would ever come to getting Fighter of the Year. Donaire ain't gonna never get Fighter of the Year again, and if he does get it, it'll be another decision. It'll be another situation where he does not deserve it. Like I told you guys before in one of my videos, I remember when Larry Merchant called his last fight for HBO. The topic of Nonito Donaire came up. And what did Larry Merchant say? Larry Merchant said that the world wants to see Donaire fight Abner Mares, and that's the only person that they want him to fight. This is what he said. This is what Larry, and these were his exact words, right? Forget about, so he's speaking. He has the nerve to speak for the entire boxing world, regardless of what our opinion is, right? Regardless of all the people who keep saying, when we going to see Donaire Rigo, regardless of what they say, he wants to brainwash you and tell you, no, this is what the world wants to see, right? Why is that, guys? Why wouldn't Larry Merchant, a guy who represents HBO, why would he not want to see Donaire fight Guillermo? We know now, right? Because of the results that have already taken place. Because Larry Merchant did not want to see one of his favorite fighters, one of HBO's favorite fighters, losing to another guy that they don't like. All right? I mean, it's fucking obvious, isn't it? It's obvious. Jim Lampley, like I said, he did the same thing. I remember watching Rigo fight against Tian Kennedy. Here Rigo is looking magnificent. He's knocking Tian Kennedy down every time he throws the left hand. He's looking very, very impressive, right? And as this fight takes place and goes on, I remember Jim Lampley, he says, wow, I guess it would be nice. Maybe one day we'll see Rigo go up against Gamboa or Gary Russell Jr. And I talked about this before, but it's important to bring it up again in this video, right? So he says this, and I'm over here wondering, why is he trying to match Rigo up with Gary Russell, who fights at 126, Gamboa, who fights at 130, but yet he didn't even mention Donaire's name. Why would that be? This can't be all coincidental, guys. It can't be, right? You got Larry Merchant saying, you got Larry Merchant completely, acting like Rigo doesn't even exist, saying, Donaire needs to fight Abner Mares. You got Jim Lampley saying, maybe Rigo, he can fight Gary Russell or Gamboa. Rigo can fight anybody he wants, is what they're saying. Just please don't fight Donaire. Please don't fight Donaire. Because if you fight Donaire, you may beat him. And our hearts over here at HBO just can't take that kind of loss. And that's exactly the kind of loss them motherfuckers end up taking. Okay? Come on, man. It all makes sense, guys. It all makes sense. All of these situations cannot be just coincidence. You know, HBO and Bob Arum, which I'm gonna get to in a second, but they're trying to spin this shit like it's all about entertainment. It's all about being bored and et cetera, et cetera. Guys, this shit has nothing to do with being bored. If you believe that shit, you would be fucking naive. This ain't got nothing to do with being bored, with being entertaining. It has something to do with like versus dislike, favoritism, being biased. That's all this has to do with, guys. Let's say Carlos Molina, for example. I think we all can argue that Carlos Molina is not a very exciting fighter. He holds more than Bernard Hopkins does, and he's just not an exciting, entertaining fighter. But why is it when he was fighting a Gaddy type fighter in James Kirkland, throughout the entire fight, Jim Lampley was praising who? He was praising Carlos Molina, right? He wasn't criticizing Carlos Molina for constantly holding. He wasn't criticizing Carlos Molina for moving around the ring constantly. Matter of fact, even when Molina got knocked down, Jim Lampley didn't even say anything positive about James Kirkland. In fact, he disputed the knockdown. Okay? And like I said, if you go back to my HBO video, on my original channel, Dante562, when you watch Oscar De La Hoya running, completely running, not being entertaining at all for 3 whole rounds, you still hear Jim Lampley praising him. You still hear Jim Lampley praising him. Okay? If Martinez is in a boring fight, you won't see any criticism. Okay? It's a lot of fighters that I could mention that do the same things even more than a Guillermo Rigondeaux, and they get praised for it. This is all a double standard, and that's all that it is. It has nothing to do with entertainment. Like I said, you go back and you look at all the fans when it comes to Adrian Broner. When it comes to the people who hate Adrian Broner, what is the first thing people say when it comes to Adrian Broner? The ones who don't like him. The first thing they say is, oh, Daniel Ponce de Leon, he beat Broner, right? But notice, none of them will ever talk about how boring and how non-entertaining of a fighter that Ponce is. Daniel Ponce de Leon is an extremely boring fighter. I mean, the last fight, the only fight that he had that had a little bit of entertainment in it was the last fight that he got knocked out in against Abner Mares. But you go back, you look at his fight against Gonzalez, against Broner, against a couple other people, and he has an extremely boring way of fighting. But those same people who hate on Broner, they don't bring up entertainment. You know why? Because they don't give a fuck about that. They only care about a fighter like a fighter that they don't like losing, right? They only care that Adrian Broner loses. They only care that Floyd Mayweather loses, Guillermo Rigondeaux loses, Andre Ward loses. They don't care how boring the loss would be. They just want to see him lose. Like I said before, same thing with De La Hoya against Trinidad. Every time you bring up De La Hoya Trinidad, you would think, the way HBO is talking now, you would think everyone would say, oh man, De La Hoya, he just ran like a coward. You know, he didn't even want to please the fans and all this stuff like that. You would think that would be the first thing they would say when you listen to these hypocritical ass fans today, right? But what's the first thing they say? They say, oh, De La Hoya, he beat Trinidad. They don't care that he ran. They don't care that he ran at all because they only care about the W. And the honest to God truth is that's all anyone cares about. Jim Lampley, with his biased ass, he didn't care about Oscar running. He only cared about Oscar's hand being raised at the end of the damn night. That's all he cared about. But see, when their fighters are not winning, then they want to twist it and they want to change the rules and make it seem like it's all about entertainment. Yeah, you beat my favorite fighter, but you're not as entertaining as my favorite fighter. That makes them feel better. That makes them feel better because the pain, it really hurts. But then they start convincing themselves, you know what? at least my fighter, he gets the entertainment championship title. He still holds that title. Now, before I go any further with this HBO situation, I want to go ahead and bring up Bob Arum, because he's in alliance with HBO when it comes to this Guillermo Rigondeaux situation. It could be said that he's credited for making the situation look even worse to the fans and the media, right? Which it doesn't make any sense to me, because Bob Arum, he promotes Guillermo Rigondeaux. So that means if Guillermo gets as big as Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, then that means Bob Arum, he gets richer. He makes more money. Okay? So anyway, long story short, I'm going to go ahead and go into an old clip that I did. Actually, it was recorded April 15th. See, guys, for those of you guys who don't know, I make a lot of different audio recordings, and sometimes I either use them or they just basically go into my archives. And I may delete them one day or whatever. So anyway, long story short, this is an old audio recording clip that I did a long time ago when I found out that Bob Arum was hating on Rigo right after Rigo beat Donaire. Okay, guys, so here the clip goes. Go ahead and listen to it. Bobby. Boy, this Bob Arum is a damn fool. I mean, he's a fool, man. This man is off of his rocker, guys. Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? I got a few things I want to talk about. I didn't know if I was going to put it all in the same video or break it down and spread it out, but I'll probably try to fit it all in this video. I want to talk about these ridiculous, comical comments that Bob Arum is making. I want to talk about the newly found favoritism that Max Kellerman is starting to display. And I also want to talk about the perspective of the Donaire fans, because that's what they are, Donaire fans. I won't call them boxing fans. They are Donaire fans, right? But first, let's go ahead and let's start off talking about Bob Arum. Before I even get into this, understand something, guys. When I hear a person talking like they know nothing about boxing, like they are only talking with favoritism, with love towards one fighter, with hate towards the other fighter. When I hear these type of comments, when I see these type of comments, I'm getting to the point where I really look at that as, God bless this guy, so he don't know no better, right? He don't know nothing about boxing, so I know I'm starting to get to the point where I'm just starting to avoid hearing all the ignorant nonsense, because their opinion really doesn't matter anyway, right? Now, the opinions that do matter are the people who can dictate or influence what people think all around the world, right? People like HBO commentators, people like Bob Arum, a promoter, right? News reporters, writers, boxing writers, etc., right? These are the people that can make the most ridiculous comment relevant, right? So Bob Arum, like I said before, I don't know what his angle is. He's got me scratching my head, not knowing if he's coming north, south, east, or west. I just don't understand. Like I said, Bob Arum was one of the first people who said that he thought that Rigo would most likely beat Donaire, right? And then all of a sudden, when Rigo shuts Donaire out, beats him easy, damn near like beating him with one hand tied behind his back, now all of a sudden Bob Arum, he speaks to the media and he says, it's going to be a hard time promoting this guy. Rigo needed to throw more punches. Now I'm sitting here thinking to myself, Rigo needed to throw more punches? Now, me thinking the way I think, the first question came to my mind is, wait a minute, and you're not saying that Donaire, the guy that lost, the guy that was coming from behind the whole fight, you're not saying to the media that Donaire needed to throw punches? The guy who threw less punches than Rigo? So wait. Let me get this right, Bob. You're telling me, or you're telling us, that it's okay for Donaire not to throw that many punches. Oh, but Rigo, for some reason, beyond me, Rigo is the one who needed to throw more punches, right? You go back and you watch the fight. 80% of the entire fight, and if anyone wants to oppose what I'm saying right now, if anyone wants to disagree with what I'm saying right now, we could sit down and watch the video together. You know, there's technology where we can actually do a video and we could show the fight playing at the same time while we're talking about it. Okay? We can sit down, we can watch the fight, and you tell me the 90% of the time that Rigo was running. Right? The point I'm making is, Rigo stood in front of Donaire 80% of the entire night. How come Donaire didn't show an urgency? How come he didn't show desperate measures to where he goes out blasting away? How come he didn't do what he tried to do in round 10? How come he couldn't continue to do it in round 11, round 12? How come he didn't start off fighting like that? Why did Donaire land less punches than Rigo? And why in the hell is Bob Arum trying to shit on Rigo, but make sure he says nothing about Donaire? Nothing about Donaire. Donaire almost got knocked out in the 12th round. Donaire was staggered in the first exchange of the fight in the first round. Donaire was running in the 12th round. Donaire was moving back a couple of times throughout the fight. But the only person who gets criticized is Rigo. Gee, I wonder why. Let's look at the Donaire versus Nishioka fight. People talking about boring, right? Are you going to tell me that Donaire fight was Brandon Rios, Mike Alvarado? No, that fight was slow as hell. That fight was boring as hell. Donaire did not throw punches in that fight. How come Bob Arum didn't come out and say that shit after that fight? The fight was all right, but he needs to throw more punches. How come Bob Arum didn't say it then? Right? How come he didn't say it? All of a sudden, Bob Arum, he's a trainer now, right? I guess he was just acting as a promoter, but really deep down, Bob Arum is a trainer. Man, if I was Rigo, I would have went up to Bob and I said, I should have threw more punches, huh? Why don't you let's sit down and watch the fight. I'll slow it down for you. Now I want you to tell me exactly what punches I should have threw and when I should have threw them. Because apparently, and I'm speaking as Rigo. Because apparently, I don't see the open target as well as you do, Bob. So why don't you tell me with your motherfucking supervision eyes which punches I should have threw? I want you to pause it, slow it down, and then tell me. See, champ, right there, you should have threw 5 jabs. Then you should have came with the right hand, you see. And then you should have came with 3 hooks to the body, brought back up the uppercut, and then you move around. Is that what you're going to say, Bob? Is that what you're going to say? A motherfucker who done won 2 gold medals just beat the fighter of the year, right? And beat him easy. But you're going to tell me, you're going to tell Rigo, you're going to tell the world that you had a better blueprint that would have been just as successful for Rigo. Right, Bob? Right. Just like, for whatever reason, he didn't have a blueprint on how Donaire could have threw more punches, right? Matter of fact, It's fine that Donaire don't throw. Donaire could have threw 50 punches in the whole fight. Donaire wouldn't have. Donaire could have threw 50 punches in the entire fight. Bob wouldn't have said nothing about it. Just like these ridiculous Donaire fans, they're not talking about Donaire backing up, holding his eye. Did you see the way this man was holding his eye? And you guys want to talk about being scared? Tell me Donaire did not look like he was fucking scared about to piss his damn pants when he was holding his eye. How many times have you seen a fighter, a grown-ass man, professional fighter, sit there holding his eye and backing up, looking down at the ground? But you guys want to sit here and say that Rigo was scared. Oh yeah, Rigo was scared. That's why he came in and the first exchange, he knocked Donaire all the way back to the ropes and then stood in front of Donaire for about 6-7 rounds, daring Donaire to do something, right? So back to Bob Arum. So Bob Arum, he makes these ridiculous comments, right? And I know you guys are scratching your head wondering as well, why is he doing this? Why would he say something like that, right? Because see, what makes it so ridiculous that Bob would make a comment like this is Bob Arum is the promoter. Bob's job is to sell the fight. Bob's job is to tell people that this fight is the biggest thing since Ali Frazier, etc., etc. Sell sand to a beach. You know what I mean. He's supposed to sell the fight. Right? He's supposed to sell the fight. How do you, as the promoter, tell the whole world it's going to be hard for me to promote this guy? He should have threw more punches, this and that and this and that. If you're the one who's supposed to be promoting the fight, why would you tell people, oh, by the way, the product that I'm selling, you guys shouldn't buy this product because this product really fucking sucks. What kind of promoter are you? Right? You're trying to sell this man, but you're telling the people that you're trying to sell to, you might as well not even buy this product because it's bullshit. Right? That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. Okay? Why would he do this, guys? Why would he do this? And I think I have the answer. I think I know why. Bob Arum did something very similar with the Manny Pacquiao-Bradley fight. He told people, just like the Donaire-Rigo fight, he told people that he wouldn't be surprised if Bradley pulls off the upset. Bradley's very capable, very good fighter, etc., etc., etc. After the fight, Bob Arum, he's more beside himself than anyone else when it comes to the decision. Oh, this is bullshit. Pacquiao was robbed, etc., etc., which I understand a lot of people thought that Pacquiao was robbed. That's fine. I'm not arguing that. My thing is, Bob Arum is the promoter. Why is he voicing his opinion on this kind of matter and trying to make Bradley look bad while making Manny Pacquiao look good? I think I figured out the reason why he did this. The same reason why now he's trying to, shit on Rigo to make Donaire look a little bit better. The answer is what I basically just said. What Bob Arum is attempting to do, because he's a mastermind promoter, what he's attempting to do is he's trying to keep all of his eggs in the basket without cracking prematurely, if that makes any sense. What I mean by that is Bob Arum, he knows that Donaire is still one of his stars. Bob Arum is trying to keep that shining star, Donaire, shining as bright as he was before he lost to G.Rigondeaux, right? But what I don't understand is, why do you have to throw another one of your own fighters under the bus just to try to keep one guy shining? It doesn't make sense to me. And this is the reason why I truly believe that G.Rigondeaux, he should say fuck HBO and Bob Arum. He should buy out his contract, and he should try to go over there to Golden Boy, 50 Cent, whoever he's going to go with, he needs to get away from HBO. He needs to get away from Bob Arum. Because I'm telling you right now, HBO is a fucking sinking ship right now. All right? This is the rise and the fall of HBO. And as long as Golden Boy doesn't go back to HBO, which, you know, I have a feeling they won't go back for quite some time. As long as they don't go back to HBO, it's going to be very hard for HBO to put on the type of fights that Showtime and Golden Boy is going to be able to put on. You know, the reason why I always compare HBO to Fox News is because they have the exact same approach. And their approach to any type of competition is, if you can't beat him, then you just simply change the rules to where the rules favor us, to where we have a better chance of beating him, right? This is what Fox News and all of the extreme right wings did when it came to the election, right? If this guy is getting the majority of the votes, then let's try to stop certain people from voting. Let's change the rules, right? If they have a certain way of voting, let's change it to where it favors us. All right? This is exactly what HBO is doing right now, guys. It's the exact same thing. If you can't stop someone like Rigo from beating one of our favorite guys, then let's change the rules. Let's try to make it seem like just beating someone is no longer enough. Now, it's more important to be entertaining, regardless if you win or lose. It's more entertaining. It's more important to be entertaining. Forget about winning. Winning doesn't mean anything if you're not entertaining enough to us, right? So yeah, this guy, Guillermo, yeah, he beat our guy. But Donaire is the entertainment champion. That's right. Let's get him a belt. Let's get him a belt and let's call him the undisputed world entertainment champion, right? And you know what? Let's even go further than that. Forget that pound for pound list of who the best fighter in the world is. Because if the best fighter in the world is not who we want to be the best fighter, let's change the rules. Let's make a Gaddy list. Yeah, let's make a Gaddy list. I know Gaddy wasn't the best fighter. I know he got beat up easy by the best fighters in the world, but that doesn't matter. Let's call him the pound for pound entertainment best champion, greatest champion of all time. Now we have our own GOAT. See, they got their GOATs like Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Robinson. Now we change the rules. Now we have our own GOAT. That's right. The GOAT, the entertainment GOAT, right? But see, it's all fabrication, guys. It's all bullshit. It's all lies. And what I mean when I say it's all lies is, like I said earlier, this shit is not about entertainment. It's not about who's boring and who's not boring. This shit is not about that. This is simply about who they like and who they don't like. And when I say they, I'm not just talking about HBO. I'm talking about the vast majority of dumb casual fans that they brainwash as well. Listen to the shit on YouTube. Read the comments that you see on YouTube, right? The majority of ridiculous comments, it comes from them hearing HBO. It comes to them hearing HBO, right? We know that HBO is the biggest fucking joke in the world because look at fucking Jim Lampley. And I don't care what nobody say. I know a lot of people are afraid to touch these topics and they're afraid to drop the fucking race, the race word. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't give a damn what nobody say. Jim Lampley is a racist, okay? The man is a racist. Max Kellerman is just a biased-ass puppet who's trying to get Jim and Larry's acceptance because he's a young pup and he looks up to them guys. I don't think that Max Kellerman is a racist, okay? But I know that Jim Lampley is a racist, okay? The bottom line is HBO is extremely biased. You could call it racism, you can call it bias, you could call it favoritism. But at the end of the day, look at how many people of race that they are biased against. Look at how many people of other races that they have favoritism towards. That alone will tell you that there's some type of racial divide going on here. Right? Think about it. Soon as Jim Lampley gets this show, The Fight Game, that really could have been great for the sport of boxing. Oh wow, now we have a great forum, on cable where people can sit down, talk about boxing, and we can really get into it. The new topics and whatever's going on this month or this week, et cetera, et cetera. It's cool we have a show like this. And that's what I'm thinking at the beginning. But then at the same time, I'm saying, wait a minute. Jim Lampley has this show. So we know that this shit is going to be fucking biased as hell. And just like I assumed, soon as he debuts the show, what is the first fucking thing that Jim talks about? The first thing he talks about is the man that he fucking hates, Floyd Mayweather. And the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, although he's considered pound for pound, he hasn't really done anything. Everyone he faces is either too old, they're either too young, or they're too small, or whatever the case is, he doesn't deserve credit because there's an excuse that I have, Jim Lampley at least, why Floyd Mayweather beat all these guys. But yet at the same time, once again, he can't think of one person that can beat this man. Completely biased. Completely biased. You guys have to understand something. Just like I said in my HBO racist or biased video, everyone can have their opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. When you are a fan, you can hate the shit out of Floyd Mayweather. You can hate the shit out of Manny Pacquiao, etc., right? But when you are a professional, you can't go out there and talk. You can't go out there and mix boxing information with your personal feelings because it is a conflict of interest, right? It's a conflict of interest. And it's not journalism. Journalism is speaking the facts. You can't go out there and speak opinion. Floyd Mayweather is not really that good because every single person he fought, they were either too old, too small, too young, too this, too inexperienced, etc., etc. But yet you won't say that about Manny Pacquiao. But yet you won't say that about Donaire. You won't criticize Donaire when he was fighting Matabula and Navarez and an old ass Arce. You won't talk about him, right? Because the network is extremely biased. And like I said, if they can't beat him, they will change the rules. That's what they're doing. And like I said, soon as the fans who follow HBO, soon as they hear this shit, they go on YouTube and they relay the same messages that they heard Jim Lampley say. Oh, Floyd Mayweather he's a joke. He fucking all he fights is old people, or they're too young, So if he's fighting a 22-year-old who's 20 pounds bigger than him, oh, the kid is too young and too inexperienced. If he's fighting the guy who's the same age as him, oh, the guy, he still didn't have the experience. Or, that guy, he wasn't as fast as Mayweather. Or he was too slow, so that doesn't really count, right? If he has more experience than Floyd Mayweather, oh, he's too old, right? So you can't win for losing.